All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start our calendar for today. I am Judge Regina Mincy, and this is our Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. And this is the calendar for cases that have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused these cases of the offenses brought against them, and the cases have been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will usually be the defendant's initial appearance before a state court judge. And the reason why I'm hesitating, because I am just seeing the defendants come in the courtroom. So I might need to start over just a tad.
Yes, ma'am. You and Miss Bridgewater hasn't logged on yet, so give her a few minutes.
Thank you. Let me slow down. I'm rushing because I knew I was running late from the other court. So let me slow down and start over. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is going to be position number 1, Mr. Coleman.
All right, I'll start again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. And this is a calendar for individuals who have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused these cases of the offenses brought against them, and the cases have been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will usually be the defendant's initial appearance before a state court judge. So I am able to address several matters, including bond, possible plea offer, or an arraignment if an offer has been made at this juncture. I'm going to begin by advising everyone that this whole entire proceeding is being recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube. I want to also remind the defendants that you have certain constitutional rights. The first being that you have a right to representation, which most of you should know who your attorneys are at this point. You also have a constitutional right to remain silent. Remember that anything that you state about the facts and circumstances or the occurrences of your case can and will be held against you. Listen to your attorneys and govern yourselves accordingly. All right, the first case I have is position number 1. And I do see someone with customized controls. I see that you're driving. When you get ready, I don't know who you're here for, but I cannot talk to anyone who's driving. So you need to pull over and be in a stable position before you will be able to address the court today. All right.
Your Honor, did you give the reset date for the SAP calendar?
I did not. Thank you so much. What is that date?
It's September the 26th.
Okay, September 26th. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. First case is Joshua Coleman. That's 23 CR 0054660Y. Pre-trial.
13 total. Last arrest was last month for theft. He was on probation for theft of services, possession of drug-related objects. Out of state court. 2023 trespass conviction. 2022, 2023 failure to appears. 2021 trespass conviction.
All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on September 11th at the jail at Rice Street. So the defendant had just been released from custody on the 11th. He was inside of the jail lobby. He began beating on the window of central control because he had a cell phone that had not been released to him. The officer then instructed the defendant to calm down and pointed to a seat for the defendant to sit down. At that point, the defendant slapped the officer's hand away. The officer then came out from where he was standing, went to place the defendant under arrest. He refused to place his hands behind his back, continued to try to leave. I will point out that this defendant is a multi-state offender. He has charges out of Florida and Georgia. He was most recently arrested in June and May in 2023 in Florida for criminal trespass and theft. He has 9 arrests in Georgia, including an FTA stemming from May of 2023 and January 2022, and a probation violation in December 2022 stemming from a criminal trespass in February in Lowndes County. Additionally, as I said, he literally was being released from jail on his felony theft case that was dismissed and his misdemeanor theft case, which he pled out on when this incident happened. The bond has currently been set at $600 on the obstruction of law enforcement officer and $1,500 on the simple battery. It's for a total of $2,100. We are asking that remain in place, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
All right, thank you. Is this PD Apton?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
My client's 27 years old. He was born in Georgia, has lived here his whole life. Prior to being in jail recently, he did work for a temp company doing construction 1 to 2 days per week. He intends to return to that job if they will have him. And he's currently experiencing residential insecurity and job insecurity, which he has been experiencing for the past year or so. He has been in jail for the past month. I understand that he's on probation and he does have prior convictions. However, it does not sound like any of those were violent offenses. I did reach out to our social workers to meet with him, to assist him with services. And it's also my understanding that he does have a place to stay and he's not in danger of fleeing and does intend to return to see this case through. He does deny the allegations and is seeking to return home. And he's already spent a substantial time in jail. So I'll ask Your Honor to please give him a signature bond. And if Your Honor is not inclined to reduce the bond that is set, his indigency is a concern. And so setting the bond as is or a bond any higher than $500 would mean no bond at all.
I'm concerned about what happened, what the allegations are. He said he's 27.
Yes, Your Honor.
I will give him a $1,500 surety bond, $1,000 on the battery, $500 on the obstruction. I will order, obviously, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that's what I'll do. I'll lower it to the $1,500 surety. Anything else, counsel?
That's all. Thanks, Your Honor.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right.
You're done. Position 2, Edmonds.
Go.
This is 23 CR 005452G. Charge of 1 count of battery, family violence, pretrial.
Second adult arrest. Last was 2009 for shoplifting out of New Jersey. He got a warrant out of Bibb County.
Okay. State.
Your Honor, in this matter, officers responded, the officer was actually going to an approved extra job. And when he arrived, the victim advised that he was attacked by the defendant 1 hour prior. The victim stated the defendant punched him in the face and struck him with a champagne glass, causing a visible knot on the victim's head. Security on location broke up the fight and advised the victim to wait for the officer to arrive to report the incident. That's why 911 wasn't called. The defendant fled the location. The basis of the family violence element is that the victim and defendant are former roommates. Given the light history, Your Honor, we're recommending a 4,000 SOB through pretrial, no further contact with the victim, Mr. Shedrick McClendon, a stay away from the incident location, which is a bar. It's 736 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond, and family violence intervention program.
All right, PD Abden.
Your Honor, I would ask that the signature bond be through the jail, and I would also object to the family violence intervention program. These are just allegations at this time, and it's my understanding that the complaining witness, I'm not sure if the state has spoken to the complaining witness, if they are on the call today. I tried to contact them, but it's my understanding that they were the first aggressor. My client firmly denies these allegations. He also tells me that the complaining witness was harassing him. They had not seen each other or spoken to each other since May. They happened to just be at the same bar, and he did not do anything that the warrant is stating, and that is what he tells me. In addition to that, he is 34 years old. He's lived in Georgia for the past 10 years. He has a daughter who he visits frequently. She lives in New Jersey. She's 15 years old. He graduated from high school. He attended some college. And currently he works 2 jobs as a personal stylist and a bartender. And today was supposed to be his first day of his 3rd job as a security officer. And he obviously could not report today. And so I would ask Your Honor to take all that into consideration, his familial obligations, his indigency at this time, and his obligations to his job. And so I would ask for a less restrictive signature bond through the jail.
Your Honor, if I may qualify 2 things. One, our office was not able to contact the victim. I would like to sound for the victim. His name is Shedrick McClendon. Second thing I'll clarify is the victim didn't just happen to be there. The victim works there. And then I forgot the 3rd thing, so I'll ask for your attention again if I recall it.
Okay, I understand. All right, is Mr. Shedrick McClendon on the Zoom? Shedrick McClendon?
I recall that 3rd thing, Your Honor. The 3rd thing was that security on the location corroborated the victim's story.
All right,
Right, but these are just mere allegations at this time. We're just setting bond. It's not a trial. They will have the opportunity to present all their evidence when the time comes. And I would just ask Your Honor to consider his familial obligations and his indigency. And I would also want to ask my client, if possible, if he does work at this bar, because he did not communicate that to me, and I wouldn't want him to have to stay away from his place of employment.
No, I think the good PD misunderstood. The victim is employed at the bar. I don't know whether or not defendant works there.
Got you. That's what I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
okay, so we're assuming, and I guess we can ask him, does make sure the defendant does not work at this bar. Are we sure of that too?
I'm not sure, Your Honor, and to be frank, the state would still request to stay away.
Okay, so Mr. Edmonds, can you ask your client, Ms. Abden, does he work at the bar?
Yeah, Mr. Edmonds, do you work at the bar?
Yes, I work at the Ponce de Leon place.
Okay.
But
And
I'm off.
does Mr. McClendon work at the bar as well?
Yes,
Okay, thank
That's
you.
a problem.
I don't work there anymore.
Okay, so you're not currently working there.
I don't work. I'm going back.
Okay, thank you. So he would not have an issue with the stay away, Your Honor, and no further contact, I think, would be in his best interest as well.
Mhm. All right, so if I order this $4,000 signature bond, I will order the signature bond through the jail. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Shedrick McClendon. I'm going to order the stay away from 736 Ponce. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I will not order FVIP at this point. And I think that's all I'll order now.
Excuse me, Judge, is the other charge for battery, has that been dismissed?
I only have one. How many?
Yeah, That was NOD'd earlier today.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Position 3, Harris.
Your Honor, you should be receiving some add-ons. This defendant has 3 separate cases in front of you today.
Okay, I just saw that come through. Hold on.
And I have them.
Okay. There's two add-ons.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm printing.
The
it.
add-ons are for simple battery, family violence, and a theft by shoplifting.
All right, I do have that.
So, Your Honor, would you like me to present each case individually? Do you want to just run through the whole gamut at once?
Let's run through them at once, but they are 3 different victims.
Correct.
They are.
3 different victims, 3 different dates.
Right, I see 7/10, 7/19, and 8/29.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, we can go in order. I'll call them all, and then let's start with the first one at 7/10. This is Brandon Harris. You have 3 cases. The first one being 23 CR 005461E, which is 1 count of theft by shoplifting on July the 10th of 23. The second case is 23 CR 005463E, theft by shoplifting on July 19th. And then the third case is 23 CR 005462E, and that's 1 count of simple battery family violence, 8/29/23. If everyone's okay with it, I'd like to go through all at once. I think I can keep them compartmentalized, if you all don't mind.
I think that'd be easiest, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, well, pretrial first. Let me do pretrial.
We got 12 total. Last arrest was 4 days ago. Misdemeanor possession of marijuana out of Clayton County. On probation in the cab for burglary, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree. Also for robbery. Driving without a valid license, theft by receiving, obstruction, and fleeing an officer. He got a 2023 petty theft resisting in another state, 2021 parole violation, 2018 burglary.
All right, state.
So, Your Honor, 3 incidents. The first incident, July 10th, that's a shoplifting. Officers responded to a shoplifting. The victim store owner, Mr. Patel, showed the officers security footage of the theft carried out by the defendant and another female. Defendant ran out of the store with 4 liquor bottles, totaling $449 in value. The defendants fled the location in a red 2015 Mazda 6 bearing the Georgia temporary tag P4585797, which will become relevant for identification. The second matter, July 19th, officer responded to a shoplifting call, different location, met with the victim store employee, Miss Shin. She stated the defendant entered the store, completed 2 transactions with cash, came up for a 3rd transaction, and when asked why he was splitting up the transactions, he fled that store with 2 liquor bottles valued at $210. The victim showed the officer security footage of the defendant fleeing in a red Mazda 6, temporary tag P4585797, which I might have said a Mazda. No, I said Mazda 6 both times. So that officer used GCIC to identify the defendant as the primary owner of, or the registered owner of the vehicle, and determined from the defendant's OLN photo that photo matched the person in the security footage. The last instance, Your Honor, is August 29th. In that matter, officers responded to a domestic dispute. They met with the victim, who stated that her live-in boyfriend pulled her out of the house by her head or her hair, telling her it was time for her to leave. The victim and the defendant have been in a relationship and lived together for several years, and the victim was able to identify the defendant by his driver's license photo. I'll also note in that case, Your Honor, relevant to state's concern about reoffense, the domestic violence investigator noted that a 911 call was made from the victim's cell phone a few days prior, and the caller on that 911 call claimed that she was being strangled. When officers arrived, there were at least 3 people in the home. 2 of them were the victim and this defendant, and the officers were able to corroborate some other matters from that 911 call, but in the end, the victim denied being the caller. So an arrest wasn't made. So, Your Honor, there's 2 bonds set. On the July 10th matter, there's a $1,500 surety bond. On the matter on the 19th, there's a $1,000 surety bond. And on the matter just from last month, there's no bond set. The state's requesting that you maintain the 2 bonds that are set and order no further contact and stay away from those employees and those locations. On the 3rd matter, the state's requesting a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with that victim, and a stay away from that address. And Your Honor, we would just note the high risk of reoffense, both from the defendant's history and from the fact that it's stated that he lives with that victim.
Okay,
I don't believe I have anything further, Your Honor.
all right.
Except that I would like to sound for Ms. Utsi. Ms. Tamara Utsi is the victim in the 3rd case, who I believe is raising her hand under a different name.
Okay, Tamara, you see, okay. Avriana McBurrows, is that who that is?
Yes.
Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm sorry.
All right, tell me your name.
Tamara Utsi.
Okay. And do you wish to address the court today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, although your case is the 3rd one, but I will hear your testimony first. Put your hand down. Are you in fear of Mr. Harris?
No, I am not. At the time, we just got in a really heated argument and I wanted him to leave. So I lied to the authorities and I told them that he hit me when he didn't because I wanted him to leave my house at the time.
All right. Do you want to have contact with him?
Yes.
Or are you all going to still be living together?
Yes, we are. He hasn't moved out.
Unless I order that you can't.
Yes, ma'am.
You all have children together?
No, ma'am. Not as of right now, but I'm supposed to be expecting one.
Supposed to be, or you are?
I'm expecting one. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So you're presently pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Any cross-examination for this witness?
Just one question. Who is Tamara Utsi?
I'm sorry.
Who's Tamara Utsi?
Me.
Is your name Tamara Utsi or is it Avriana?
Tamara Utsi.
Do you use the name Ariana McBurrows? Do you use that name as well? Is that an alias?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Pallon?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Utsi, do you recall meeting with Investigator Latowski?
Yes.
And that occurred, I show September 5th. Does that sound about right?
I'm not sure. I just remember the
Would have been just
policeman.
1 week ago.
I don't know exactly who his name was. I just know that the policeman, he came out and he spoke with me.
Okay. And is it, so on August 29th, you called 911 alleging that the defendant hit you. September 5th, you also told that officer that the defendant hit you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Right?
I just have one quick question. So the prior call, were you also lying to police then? Or? what
Yes, I was,
happened? Okay,
No,
thank you.
stay as in charge.
because I wanted him to leave.
Okay, and are you afraid of him?
No, I'm not afraid of him at all. We just, like I said, we just got in a heated argument and I wanted him to leave the house at the time.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
All right. All right, and you can go ahead and present Ms. Abden on that case.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client's 23 years old. He was born in Georgia. He's lived here his whole life. He has a lot of family in Georgia as well. He has his GED and a trade school certificate for forklift operating. He currently works at a warehouse. He's an assembly line worker. He's been working there for the past year. It is my understanding from my client that he does want to return home and have contact with his girlfriend and work this out. As you've heard, it sounds like it was a false allegation, and she's corroborated that, and she does not fear him either. Regarding the two theft by shoplifting, I would ask Your Honor to consider lowering the bond. His indigency is a concern, and it is set very high. I do understand the state's concern about reoffense, but that shouldn't increase the value, and his indigency is something that is a concern, and that would mean that would be no bond at all for my client. And so I would ask Your Honor to consider lowering the bond on those two to 500, 250 on each, and a signature bond on the battery, family violence, and to allow for no further violent contact.
Your Honor, I'd like to just point out one thing as a counter. The PD Abden asked the witness if she had lied to police in this matter, and the witness said yes. Then PD Abden asked if the witness lied in the matter where a 911 call was made. Someone was claiming that they were being strangled, and when the officer interviewed the victim, or I'm sorry, interviewed this witness to see if she was the victim, she said no. And when PD Abden asked, did you lie in that matter? She said, yes, as in I lied. So I think with the answers given in either matter, there is an instance of violence.
I mean, all that goes to show is that she's not a credible witness. It's my understanding her name is Avriana. I'm not really sure what occurred. It sounds like she's not afraid of him. She doesn't seek to proceed, and she's denying any allegation of any violent incident occurring on either one of those dates. So I would ask Your Honor to take that into consideration as well.
Your Honor, that poses additional problems. Either this is the witness and the PD will have to live with the two answers that she received from the witness, or this witness is not the victim, and then we'd have to treat the matter as though we have been unable to contact the victim, in which case we should assume that the victim wants no contact. So either way, this argument does not work well.
Well,
I'm wondering if this is the true victim or not, or who this is.
Well, I'm curious why PD thinks this is not the victim other than the Zoom name, because
it is my understanding for my client that his girlfriend's name is Avriana. It appears she goes by a different name as well. That is where my confusion lies. And I understand the concerns. However, this is not the trial. We're just trying to set bond. We'll have an opportunity
don't
to
worry,
look
this
at
isn't
the
a trial
facts of the. Well, it's getting a little bit too much into the facts, in my opinion, and I really would ask Your Honor to take all that into consideration and grant my client a fair bond on these three cases.
Your Honor, if the PD is alleging that this witness is not the victim in this case, then I think it's paramount the court treats it as though the prosecution has been unable to contact this victim, that this victim suffered violence and does not want contact with this defendant.
She just
That's
like
what the PD is alleging.
identified herself as the victim when I'm trying.
But you're saying she's not.
Does she
No.
have an ID? Do you have an
That's not what
ID?
I said.
Do you have an ID with you? Miss McBurrows or Miss,
I'm sorry. No, I do not at the time.
you're in a vehicle and you're driving and you don't have an ID?
I'm not driving. I'm sorry.
You're in a vehicle.
Yes.
Are you a passenger?
No, I'm not pulling off either.
I'm sorry,
I said no, and I'm not driving either.
but how did the vehicle get to where it is if you're not driving it or you're not a passenger? Somebody else drove it, left it, and you're just sitting in it?
No, somebody else drove, and I'm sitting at Walmart.
That's what I just asked you. I don't know that I find your testimony
They
credible.
didn't leave the vehicle, is what I'm saying. The
Okay, but
store.
I don't know who you are. You have no ID on you.
No, I do not.
Your Honor, if I may. I understand what everyone is saying. I think the state's position at this point is obviously Your Honor is going to determine a bond that Your Honor feels is fair and reasonable. We are asking in regards to the stay away and the further contact, that there be no further contact in the stay away order, because at this point, apparently no one can make heads or tails of who is who and which person is speaking to us, and if that we're not able to even verify this is the victim at this point. And so at this time, to be on the safe side, I believe that whoever the victim is in our case needs to appear before a court with the proper identification, and then a bond modification can be done at that time. Once we have addressed we are actually speaking to the right individual.
I agree. Yeah.
Wouldn't object to that either.
Okay. Thank you. So let me do this. Since this is the victim on the third case, we'll go out of order a little bit, not to confuse everyone with this third case. I mean, well, I guess it's case number 1 with Brandon Harris, which is the one ending in the 5462E. Let's just go with this case, which is a simple battery family violence. On this matter, I will grant the $2,000 surety bond. I will order no further contact with the victim as we know it, Ms. Utsi. A stay away from the incident location or that address. And I guess they cannot live together, obviously. I'm ordering a no further contact between the alleged victim and the defendant, Brandon Harris, in this case. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. So that will clear up the add-on case, correct?
Yes.
And then the other case,
All right, excuse me, Judge, can you please repeat your bond again?
I'm sorry, $2,000 surety bond.
And that's for simple battery?
Yes, that's for the simple battery, correct?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And then the next case, which will be number 2 add-on, the theft by shoplifting, ending in 5463E, where the victim in that case is Miss Shin, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to order the $1,000 surety bond, a stay away from the liquor store, the incident location, and no further contact with the victim, Ms. Shin. All right. And then the third case, which is on the regular calendar, position 3, I'm going to order on that theft by shoplifting, a $1,000 surety bond, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond for all cases. Stay away from this liquor store incident location, and no further contact with the victim, Mr. Patel. And I'm Making sure, did I miss anything else, counsel, on any of the three cases?
Nothing for the state, Your Honor.
Okay,
Nothing for the defense as well, Your Honor.
all right, that'll do it.
From the defense.
Raise
I'm
your hand.
sorry.
Huh? I don't understand what's going on. I'm in here on both.
Mr. Harris, I would advise you to exercise your right to remain silent at
Yes.
this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, you're done. Position 4, Jeffries. Have a seat.
This is 23 CR 005459E, Ronaldo Jeffries, charged with 1 count of simple battery family violence pretrial.
23 total. Last arrest was 2019, probation, on probation in Clayton County, aggravated assault, on probation in Fulton for identity fraud, forgery, and the fourth, and obstruction. Got FTAs and probation violations in his history. Saw a 2016 battery DV conviction, couple of parole violations, and a 2010 battery DV arrest. That's it.
All right, stay.
Yes, Your Honor, and just checking on that 2010 DV arrest, I believe that did result in a conviction. I just want to make sure that my information is accurate. Yes, that did result in a negotiated plea on July 14th, 2010. So in our case, this incident happened September 11th, 2023 at 315 Boulevard Northeast, Atlanta. Miss Tarshia Lane stated that the defendant, her husband, was giving her a ride to the doctor, and while he was driving, he began falling asleep. At that point, the defendant's phone began to ring. The defendant told her, refused to tell her who was calling. Miss Lane said she tried to take the phone from the defendant, who struck her twice in the upper arm with a closed fist and struck her with a closed fist in the left side of her head. Miss Lane did get out of the car and flee from the scene prior to calling 911 to get away from the defendant. As you've already heard, the defendant has probation violations in 2019, 2018, had a dismissed Clayton County battery in 2017, had probation violations in 2016, FTAs in 2016. That possession of firearm case in 2016, we did reach out to Clayton County. They did confirm it was a conviction for possession of a firearm, aggravated assault, family violence battery, possession of a firearm, and the defendant is still on probation on that case. It is not the same victim as our case, but it is notable. We would also like to point out that the defendant has a family violence battery conviction in 2010 as well. So this would be his third family violence case. So for that reason, we do have concerns regarding the risk of reoffense here, especially when we're looking at these probation violations, FTAs, and previous violent offenses. For that reason, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Tarshia Lane, stay away from 315 Boulevard Northeast, Atlanta. We are also asking that Your Honor impose the Family Violence Intervention Program. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Lane. She stated that she is residentially challenged, is currently staying in a shelter, and the defendant has been verbally and physically abusive with her throughout their relationship. She also did state they have a case in Clayton County. Further, she stated she is not afraid of the defendant, but is afraid of what she may have to do to defend herself. She confirmed the events in the warrant, stated she went to Emory Midtown Hospital due to her injuries, and she was diagnosed with swelling and bruising. And she asked for a no further contact, ADET, and anger management. We would like to sound for Ms. Lane to see if she is here in court, but that is all for the state.
All right, Ms. Lane. This is it, Tarshia Lane. I see someone getting on at the top. I don't know if that's her. Is that you, Miss Tarshia Lane? If it is, and you have a cigarette in your mouth, could you please put your cigarette out?
It appears that Ms. Lane is here. It looks like she's trying to connect to the audio, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I do not mind going for my client while we are waiting for Miss Lane.
Okay, go ahead, PD Kim.
Yes, my client is 60 years old, Your Honor, and he is currently unemployed. He's living out because of the checks from disability and social security incomes. And Your Honor, he does not have any other mental health diagnosis. And Your Honor, he is gainfully, he is basically, he's a father of one son, and he also has a grandkids. I believe that he has no objection to stay away and no further contact. And since he is qualified for public defender services because of his indigency, we would like to request for signature on bond or maximum $1,000 good bond. Even that, he does not have anybody who will be able to bail him out as of now. 2504 Linda Lane is where he resides, and it is his house that he's renting. His brother's name is on the lease, so we would like to ask him to stay there. Thank you.
I don't know, was that the address that, I thought it was at Boulevard Northeast, no?
That's doctor's office building. Yes.
That was the address
Okay.
of the incident, Your Honor.
Oh,
Yes.
just the address of the incident, okay.
I believe so, but Miss Lane could kind of hopefully enlighten us. I did tell Miss Lane to exit the Zoom and come back in to see if that would help her audio connect, but I had to text her in the chat. So Miss Lane, if you can hear me, please exit the Zoom and then re-enter the Zoom, and we'll see if that helps your audio connect up.
My client has no objection to stay away from both doctor's office where Miss Lane gets treatment and also, wherever she resides.
Okay, and it looks like Miss Lane's audio was able to connect. So if, Your Honor, if you could ask her just to turn on her camera if she does want to give a statement, I appreciate that.
Ms. Lane? You turn on your video or your camera? If you can't shortly, I'm going to pass you by, because I do need to move along. Can you hear us, Ms. Lane? Ms. Lane?
And Your Honor, hearing no response, we are prepared to go forward. I will have our victim advocate reach out to Ms. Lane just to give her additional information and answer any questions she may have.
All right. What I'm going to do on this case would be one count of civil battery family violence is to order a $3,000 surety bond. I'm going to order no further contact with Tarshia Lane. I'm going to order stay away from her and, being 200 yards away and no contact whatsoever. And I guess, is it our understanding or we believe that they do not reside together?
No.
Okay. So if I grant the stay away from the Boulevard Northeast, which was the incident location, you can't go to her doctor's office or be anywhere around her within 200 yards, no contact by email, by social media, by phone, anything like that. All those boxes will be checked on the bond order. And so, or wherever she resides, he should not be there. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I don't know if I need to be any more particular than that.
I think that should be sufficient, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, again, given the history, we are requesting the Family Violence Intervention Program.
I won't order that at this time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. I neglected to say that. All right, next.
You're done. Position 5, Cats. No, you gotta put bond, you gotta pay 10%.
This is 23 CR 005453E. Jonathan Katz, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, pretrial.
32 total. Last arrest was last month for obstruction, trespass, abandonment of certain drugs. He was arrested for PI earlier this year, 2022 trespass, 2020 and another 2022 arrest for trespass. Those were convictions. 2020 theft conviction, 2019 theft conviction. Couple of 2019 trespass convictions. 2017 probation, failure to appear. Theft by shoplifting conviction, another trespass conviction. 2014 trespass NOLO.
All right, state.
Your Honor, in this matter, officers were dispatched to a criminal trespass. When they arrived, they met with on-site security, Mr. Reginald Kelly, and the defendant. Mr. Kelly stated the defendant has been trespassed from that location multiple times and had been arrested prior to today. He also stated the defendant entered into the location at midnight, was directed to leave, and refused to leave. The defendant has been previously arrested at this location. That occurred last month, August 13th, 2023, for the same offense at the same location. When asked why he was there, the defendant stated that he was at the location because he was meeting a friend and that he did understand that he had an active criminal trespass. Your Honor, that previous instance is 23 CR 004940G. That was in front of Judge Morrow, and the defendant does have a stay away order in that sentence. So state is requesting a $1,000 signature on bond through pretrial services, no further contact with Mr. Reginald Kelly, who's the on-site security, stay away from the incident location, and nothing further.
All right, PD Kim.
We have no objection, Your Honor. Only thing is, so he is recommended for PAD, PAD program, and he is going to be released to that place.
Your Honor, our office did explore that possibility. It's my understanding that the defendant has been rejected from PAD.
Oh,
Just to clarify, not rejected, the defendant did not consent to enter PAD. According to
Okay.
Mr. Howard, he just sent an email at 2:47 that Mr. Katz did not wish to enter PAD.
because when I spoke to him, he said he was interested. He consented, but I guess he must have changed his
Right.
mind.
And I may be incorrect. I'm looking at the emails.
Oh, Ms. Kim, right, when Pat spoke with him directly, just a little while ago.
Mhm.
And after they talked with him more in detail, he declined their services. So, right.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Thank you.
All right. So do we have a good address or location for Mr. Katz?
Actually, yes, he does. His mother's address will be the one that he will be using. I can put the chat.
Okay. All right, I will order $2,000 signature bond through the jail. And I will order no further contact with Reginald Kelly. And I will order a stay away from the incident location. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I believe that's all I can order at this point.
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay.
Judge, we're gonna let 3 South go. That's gonna be position number 8, Mr. Scrine.
Okay. This is 23 CR 005457F. Mr. Scrine, charged with 1 count of reckless conduct, pretrial.
Your Honor, we're waiting for Miss McLeod to log on. That's his attorney.
Oh, okay.
She says she's logging on now.
Let's see if we can see her. There she comes. Good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good timing.
Yes.
You said you were getting on. We have Mr. Scrine, is it? If I'm pronouncing that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so we have 1 count of reckless conduct. So pretrial, go ahead and go.
This is 9th arrest. Last was
Ninth.
2017 suspended license, 2016 probation, and a 2012 theft by taking conviction.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on the 22nd of August, 2023 at 724 Skipper Drive Northwest. The officer spoke to Mr. Alfonso McCoy, who stated that he and his wife had gotten into a verbal argument. Mr. McCoy's wife then called her brother, who is the defendant, who arrived at the scene and began arguing with Mr. McCoy. And while Mr. McCoy was standing there, the defendant fired a shot into the air and then fled with his sister, Mr. McCoy's wife. The defendant was contacted by police and did admit to shooting a gun in the air during the altercation. We would like to state that we have spoken to Mr. Alfonso McCoy, who we would like to sound for. He confirmed that the defendant is his brother-in-law. He also stated that there have been issues in the past. He stated whenever there are issues or arguments within the family, the defendant is always wants to take out his gun. And he said he is afraid that eventually someone is going to get hurt. Mr. McCoy also confirmed the events in the warrant and stated he wants no further contact, anger management, and a stay away from his address, which is that Skipper Drive address in Atlanta. We are asking, based on the facts of this case and based on the statement from Mr. McCoy, this bond was previously set by the magistrate court at $10,000 surety bond. We're asking that that bond remain as set. We feel that any situation involving the firing of a handgun is a serious situation. Bullets don't have a name. And so it is only by the grace of everything involved that no one actually got hurt here. And what is really concerning for the state is that when Mr. McCoy's statement that whenever there's a verbal altercation, the solution for the defendant is to pull out a gun. We're also asking for a stay away from the address at 724 Skipper Drive Northwest and no further contact whatsoever with Mr. Alfonso McCoy, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. At this time, we would like to sound for Alfonso McCoy.
All right, Mr. Alfonso McCoy, are you on the Zoom court? Mr. Alfonso McCoy. Nope. Or is that
I
Alfonso
think
McCoy
that
at
might
the
be
top?
him on the
That might be him.
customized controls, Your Honor.
I
Is that
believe it may be
him?
also, but he needs to unmute himself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're Mr. McCoy.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you like to address the court today?
Yes, all this.
Hold on. I'm gonna swear you in first. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your hand down. And what were you gonna say?
I mean, this whole thing was over a simple thing of noodles, something that was like 50 cents, 3 in the store. It don't make sense. But what makes me mad is the whole entire time I'm sick and tired of this gun coming out being shot. Every time there's an altercation, he the first one pull up, call me different names and stuff, and oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, then pop. I'm getting tired of it. And pretty soon somebody eventually seriously gonna get hurt because a bullet don't have no name on it, for one. And then two, you never know how a person may react. You done got away with it so many times, you don't know if that person may say, well, okay, now it's my time. Bye.
So you've had previous incidents with Mr. Scrine and the gun, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he is your brother-in-law.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, but you all now at the Skipper Drive location, who resides there?
Yes, ma'am. My wife, she reside there. She also have text in my phone right now, and I could fax over to you. She's also
She's also what?
she also afraid of her brother.
Oh, okay. All right. What's your wife's name?
Her name is Ville. Well, her maiden name is Ville Delay Franklin. Her real name is, and her married name is Ville Delay McCoy.
Okay.
Mr. Scrine, keep your hand down. I am here. I represent you. I will speak on your behalf.
Okay. Any cross-examination for Mr. McCoy?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
And I will say none from the state. We just would like to add a surrender all firearms to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office based on Mr. McCoy's statement.
Okay. All right. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Mr. McCoy.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I represent Mr. Scrine. How did Mr. Scrine know that you and your wife were having a dispute?
One of his sisters called him, and it wasn't my wife.
How do you know that it wasn't your wife?
But me and her, we were arguing the whole time. When he pulled in on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't assume. See, when me and her were arguing, she never once picked up a phone and said, "Oh, I'm doing this." She on the phone. Period. He just pulled up out of thin.
I believe your testimony earlier was that she left with him, correct?
Yes, she did.
Did he pull her away? Did he force her to leave with him?
Huh?
Did he force her to leave with him?
I mean, you might well say he had a high-pitched voice. He told him to get in the car.
Isn't it true? Are you aware that my client is disabled? Okay, do you agree with that? Are you aware of that?
Ma'am?
Are you aware that my client is
Can I explain?
disabled? No, I'm asking you. That's a yes
okay, go ahead.
or a no, Mr. McCoy.
Hold on, Mr. McCoy, please let her ask her question and listen to the question and then just answer. Stop trying to talk while she's talking. Can't talk over.
Are you aware that he is disabled?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay, so you're suggesting that he forced your wife into the car?
I would say so. With all the yelling and hollering, I would say so. If you yelled that putting pressure on her. See, my wife is not all the way there.
Oh, I see. So he yelled.
Yeah, she have a disabled. She have a disability about herself.
I see. So my client yelled, and by yelling, he forced her into his car. That is your testimony.
Yes.
And you also said she was afraid of him. Why would she go in a car with him if she's afraid of him?
Like I said, the high-pitched yelling, she cracked up under pressure.
I see. So he high-pitched yelled and forced her in the car. That is your testimony.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I ask one question?
Yes.
And Mr. McCoy, while this high-pitched yelling was happening and he was ordering your wife to get in the car, did he have the gun?
I'm sorry, you broke up for a quick second, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Lord. I hate this area.
Mr. McCoy,
let's try again.
Okay. I said, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, I said while he was high-pitched yelling at your wife and telling her to get in the car, was he holding a gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like on the side of his car.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, my client is 34 years old. He is disabled. So he does not work, of course, because he's unable. He's totally handicapped. My understanding is that he cannot walk. Yet his brother-in-law would have you believe that somehow He, by telepathy, or maybe he's assuming someone called, not his wife, to tell her brother, come and give me a ride. My client tells me that he was at home and his sister called and told him that she wanted a ride and could he come and get her, which is what he did. She called him to come and get her because she was having some difficulty with her husband. My client denies that he shot any guns or that he threatened anyone at all. He's not in any position to threaten any of these people. That was his sister. She asked for a ride. He showed up at the house to give her a ride. Your Honor, my client, when he found out there was a warrant for his arrest, he voluntarily turned himself in. There's a clear indication that he's not a flight risk or anything. While he does have some history, none of it is violent. Based on the fact that he is disabled and unemployed, I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond. He does not live with his brother-in-law, and he does not have to have contact with him, Your Honor. Nothing further.
All right, the state has requested a $10,000 surety bond due to the allegation of shooting the gun in the reckless conduct charge. And I've also listened to the testimony of one of the victims. And so we don't have what I consider the other victim, possibly Miss McCoy, on the line. I'm assuming that we don't. And I see someone trying to sign in. I don't think that's her. That's not your wife, is it, Mr. McCoy? Someone trying to sign in with the red background?
I know I'm aware of.
Okay, it's not her. Just making sure. All right, I'm going to, based on what I've heard of the allegations, I'm going to order a $10,000 surety bond. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And if Mr. Scrine still has a gun or any guns, he needs to surrender all of his guns to the Fulton County Sheriff's Department immediately or upon his release. I'm going to order no further contact with Alfonso McCoy. And I'm going to also order no contact with Via Franklin McCoy. That's the correct name for your wife. I think
Yes.
until this cools down. And
Your
then
Honor,
VIA.
Your Honor,
BEIA.
Yes.
this is my client's sister. She was the one who called him. That is what he told me. And for her husband to come here and say she's afraid of my client, it's a bit much. There's absolutely no evidence to show that his sister is afraid of him. What he told me was that she was the one who called him and asked him for a lift. She would not have done so if she were afraid of him.
Has
Well, I want
King
to make
McLeod spoken to Mr. McCoy's wife?
I have not spoken to her, but I have spoken to my client. And it's just logical that she would not have called him were she afraid of him.
I would
But
say
maybe she didn't know he would show up with the gun, possibly.
I would say
But the allegation by her husband is that he always has a gun and he's done it, shot it many times before. So it's either one or the other.
Your Honor, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that normally in this situation where contact has not been made with the victim, a stay away order is applied as well as a no further contact until such time that that person can come into court and ask for some sort of modification. I have not had contact with Ms. McCoy. Ms. McLeod has just confirmed she has not had contact with Ms. McCoy. Ms. McCoy would need to come into court and say otherwise. Out of an abundance of caution, I would ask for that stay away and no further contact.
Miss
Yeah,
Falk,
I'm
when
going
did
to.
Miss McCoy become a victim? I did not hear anything. I haven't seen the warrant, but my understanding is that it is her husband who is the alleged victim and not her. She happens to be my client's blood relative, his sister, who called her brother because she needed some help with her abusive husband. That was
Okay.
my understanding of what took place.
And Ms. McLeod, I believe the court can make that determination based on everything they've heard.
Right. I don't
Okay,
know
ma'am.
that we can assume that.
I have a
Miss
statement on that note.
Mr. McCoy,
Real-
if you could just hold for us, please. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy, I'm going to order that Mr. Scrine stay away from both you and your wife unless you tell me something different. And until she comes into court, as Deputy Falk has stated, and testifies otherwise, or there's an application or motion for a bond modification, then we'll hear it at that time. I'm going to order that Mr. Scrine stay away from 724 Skipper Drive. That's your address, correct? Yeah, and so he will stay away from there, have no further contact with you or his sister. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns, and whatever guns he has, 1, 2, 3, how many ever, he should surrender all of them to the sheriff's department immediately upon his release. And I think that's all I'll order at this time. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing
All
for
right.
the state.
Thank you.
Judge, what was that amount? Was it 10,000?
Yes, 10,000 surety,
Okay, thank you. I couldn't tell whether you were saying 10 or 2.
10.
Okay.
Yes. All right, anything else? All right,
Nothing.
thank you, Mr. McCoy. You're free to sign off. Please let your wife know about the order. Thank you.
Position number 7, Mr. Norwood, and also there's been a request for his aunt to make a statement.
All
And Your
right.
Honor, my business is concluded before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, you may. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. And where's the aunt? Is she on the Zoom or is she there?
I believe she's on the Zoom, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. This is 23 CR 005456F. Lenarian Norwood, charged with 1 count of battery family violence pretrial.
5 total. Last arrest was June. Suspended license, and that appears to be open.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor, and I believe the victim, Miss Marks, is present here on the Zoom. This incident happened on September 11th, 2023 at 921 Westmoreland Circle Northwest in Atlanta. The officer spoke with Miss Olivia Marks, who is the aunt of the defendant and lives with him at the same residence. Ms. Marks stated the defendant got upset about a note someone put on the door. The defendant then began going door to door, knocking on people's doors at around midnight. For obvious reasons, Ms. Marks attempted to stop him from doing this. At that point, according to Ms. Marks, the defendant threw her to the ground, got on top of her, and began to bite her hands. Ms. Marks stated she struck the defendant in self-defense. The officers did observe bite marks to both of her hands, as well as bruises to Ms. Marks' knee. The defendant did claim that Ms. Marks tried to stop him from knocking on the doors and scratched him on the face, and he pushed her. Although the officers did observe scratch marks, there were 2 independent witnesses who also gave statements, Ms. Crystal Owens and Tanian Porter, who stated that the defendant was highly intoxicated, which the officers did observe, and they further stated that the defendant began fighting with his aunt. Both confirmed that Ms. Marks was acting in self-defense and was not the aggressor in this situation. A Ring doorbell camera also caught the defendant engaging in the acts that were alleged by Ms. Marks and everyone else, and going around at midnight banging on the doors of his neighbors' homes. The defendant has no previous convictions. I do see 3 arrests for driving with license suspended, no violence. And given his rating through pretrial, we are agreeable to a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from 921 Westmoreland Circle Northwest, Atlanta. No further contact for the time being with Miss Olivia Marks. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. As I stated, Miss Marks is here on the line. We were not able to reach her, but we did send her a link to today's Zoom. So if she would like to speak, Your Honor, I would appreciate if you could sound for her. Thank you so much.
All right, Miss Olivia Marks,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like to address the court today?
All I want to do is drop the charges, but
I The first question I ask is, do you want to address the court today? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, because if you did, I would swear you in and then you could do it. But I just wanted to first ask you if you wanted to or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do you want to address the court or say anything about the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your hand down for me, and what would you like to say?
All I want to do is drop the charges and that he has a rehab program for him in his alcohol and his anger.
Okay, and he is your brother, correct?
He's my nephew.
I mean nephew.
We
Nephew.
was raised as brothers and sisters, but we're nephew and auntie.
Oh, he's your nephew. That's right. Okay. All right. Are you in fear of him?
Yes.
Okay. But you want to have contact with him or not?
I will speak to him on the phone, but as in person, no.
Okay. All right. Any cross-examination?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Marks. You can mute yourself.
I have one question, Your
Oh,
Honor.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Uh,
PD Kim.
Do you want him to return to 921 Westmoreland?
At this
Right.
moment, no. No, ma'am, because he's not really on the lease at the moment.
No problem.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. PD Kim.
Yes, my client, Mr. Norwood, is a very brilliant young man. He's 25 years old, born and raised here in Georgia. We are going to accept that stay away and no further contact with Miss Olivia Marks. He will find another place to live separately. We would like to, I guess, we have no objection to signature on bond through the pretrial at this point. Thank you.
All right. All right. I will order a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial per judge. I'm going to order the one-day anger awareness course. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Olivia Marks. No further contact with her. A stay away from 921 Westmoreland, Circle Northwest. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I believe that's it. Anything else, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Can he have a one-time law enforcement officer escort visit to retrieve his personal belongings?
All right, I will order a one-time law enforcement escort. And that's to go back with law enforcement, Mr. Norwood. Do not go back by yourself or you'll be arrested. But at one time you can arrange that when you get out, law enforcement, go back with you to retrieve your personal belongings, all right?
Thank you,
Okay,
Your Honor.
that will be it. Thank you.
I got it.
No, Mr. Norwood, you got signature on bond. Please call me if you have any questions. I do not want you to speak. Please remain silent. Please remain silent. It is your constitutional right.
It's a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial.
Position 6, Muhammad.
This is 23 CR 005455C. Nikhil Muhammad, charged with one count of willful obstruction, law enforcement officer, second count of loitering and prowling. Pretrial.
First arrest recommended.
All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened back on September 11th at 814 Magnolia Way Northwest, which is the Magnolia Park Apartments, at around 2 a.m. The Officers were responding to a call of two black males wearing all black with backpacks that were seen in the area looking into cars. When the officer pulled into the above address, they saw the males matching the description. The defendant fled and the officers gave chase. He was later found in the bushes. When questioned what he was doing there, he claimed he was doing tricks on his bike and ran over a rock, and then claimed that he laid down by the bushes and two males ran over and said they would leave a backpack with him. The state is, given the lack of history, requesting a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, $1,000 per count. He will need, I believe, due to his age, a cosigner. We'd also ask that he stay away from the Magnolia Park apartments unless he resides there, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We're finally requesting a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. given the time that this incident happened. That's all for the state.
Okay, and repeat, you said to stay away from the Magnolia Park Apartments, a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And was there one more thing?
He would need a cosigner. He's 19 years of age, and I believe that.
Nah, he don't need no cosigner.
He doesn't?
Not at
Okay.
19.
Okay, so he does not need a cosigner, but we would still make the other request for the stay away if he does not live at that address, and a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Any further contact with?
There is no one to have no further contact with, so we're not requesting that at this time.
Okay, gotcha.
Your Honor,
All
can
right,
I
thanks.
clarify with my client, because I have his address as 901 Parsons, but I want to double check that whether that is not in Magnolia Park apartment. Can I ask my client?
Yes.
Mr. Muhammad, would you please verify if you do not live at Magnolia apartment?
I don't, I stay in 901 Parsons, but my mom
Okay.
is normal.
All righty. Thank you.
All
We
right.
have no
Good.
objection, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, PD Kim.
Your Honor, my client is 19 years old. He is part-time employed doing yard services. However, he does not make enough money, so he's qualified for public defender services. We have no objection to stay away, signature on bond. However, we prefer signature on bond through jail. He is currently pursuing GED through Atlanta Tech College, and we would like to request for that. Thank you.
All right, I will order the $2,000 signature bond. I will order it through the jail. And that'll be 1,000 on each of the charges. Mr. Muhammad, keep your address current with your attorney. Make sure that is with the clerk's office so that you can get further notices of trial dates or court dates. And with that $2,000 signature bond through the jail, I'm going to order a stay away from the Magnolia Park apartments. Do not go back to that complex. I'm going to also order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm going to order a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I guess that'll be it. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing further from defense, Your Honor.
You
Thank
said
you.
that's through the jail?
Yes.
2,000? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Position 9, Watson.
All right. This is 23 CR 005458Y. Leonard Watson, charged at 1 count of criminal trespass. Pre-trial.
41 total. Last arrest was 2021 probation. Appears to be on probation for trespass out of state court as of February of this year. Obstruction, felony that is. Terroristic threats. 19 SC 169262. Got a 2020 criminal damage to property arrest. 2020 burglary, smash and grab. 2019 probation. 2019 obstruction conviction. 2018 obstruction conviction. 2018, trespass conviction, shoplifting, NOLO, and a 2017 disorderly conduct conviction.
All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on, let's see, September 11th, 2023 at 2111 Campbellton Road, the Chevron gas station. The defendant was observed by officers lying down in front of the store, and the clerk stated the defendant had been trespassing multiple times at that location. The most recent criminal trespass warning was August 8th, 2023. We did have indications that this defendant is residentially challenged. He did accept the offer of PAD to enter into the PAD program. To that end, we are recommending a $1,000 signature bond released to PAD services. That would be on Wednesday, I believe, at 9 a.m. I know the jail normally releases at sometime in the evening, but they are specifically requesting to release to PAD at 9 a.m. And we are also asking for no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from the Chevron gas station at 2111 Campbellton Road Southwest.
All right. PB Kim.
We have no objection, Your Honor.
All right. I will order the $1,000 signature bond through the jail, but with the condition that the defendant be released only to the PAD program by Wednesday at 9 a.m. To be released to them specifically. A stay away from the Chevron at 2111 Campbellton Road Southwest. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I guess that's it. Anything else, counsel?
Nothing
further.
Okay. All right. Is that it, I think? Or do we have
Yes,
any?
Judge, we're completed here in courtroom 2.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, Your Honor, are we ready to go over the calendar if that's set?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, everyone, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be September the 26th. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 3, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 4, SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. Position 5 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 6 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 7 is reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 8 is going to the SAP calendar with a $10,000 good bond. 9 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. And on the add-on calendar, position 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. And position 2, SAP calendar with the $1,000 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Hey, Edmonds was 4,000 jail or 1,000 jail?
Edmund is a 1,000 SOB through the jail.
I had 4.
Yeah, I had 4 as well.
I wrote down 4. Anybody else correct?
Okay, hold on.
4.
Holly, just write 4.
I got it. Y'all told me to write 4. I have it.
We'll take 1 though, if you want. But thank you.
Okay. Before we conclude court, we have 2 new ASGs with our office, and I would like for them to turn on their cameras so that I may introduce them properly to you.
Oh, good.
All right. So with us is ASG Brandon Pierre Thomas, and he comes to us from the DeKalb County Solicitor's Office. And Mr. White, if you could please turn on your camera as well. Okay, seems like Mr. White may have departed a little sooner than we expected.
Oh, there he comes.
Okay, there he is.
And then he went back out.
Okay. He said he's not too sure this
Yeah,
here.
no. Fulton County is very exciting. And so you will have a lot of excitement and never a dull moment in Fulton.
I
Mr.
see.
White, you come from another jurisdiction or?
No, ma'am. I
Okay.
was transactional at first, so this is my first time
Yeah.
going into
Okay.
litigation.
You'll
Well,
get
this will
better
be-
stories.
Yes, I know. This will be much more exciting.
Yeah.
And welcome to both of you. I saw you out on early, so I wasn't sure,
Okay,
but welcome aboard.
welcome.
Oh, there goes Mr. Howard, but bopping back in. That's good.
I'm here, Judge.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hanging. It's been a long day.
Yes, it's been.
So I'm sorry if anybody saw me. I had a few grapes. I just kind of dumped in my mouth because I've been going since 9 a.m. So it's been a long day for me. Yep. All right. See everybody next time.
Have a
All right.
great
All
day,
right, everybody
everyone.
Thank you,
take care.
Judge.
Bye, thank
Take
you.
care.
Well, I'm
Bye-bye.
available if you want to call me now.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Thank you.